Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, July 17th. This is virtual lunch number 90. And Litera is the sponsor of today's program, but most importantly, Avaneesh Marwaha, the CEO.
Started my career as an attorney in Chicago, focusing on IP, FDA, FTC work for the natural food and drug industry. Pivoted my career pretty early, left legal to get into the entrepreneurial world. Bought a company here in Chicago doing first aid training and defibrillator deployment, sold that back in 2011, and then got into legal IT. First place I went to was Pino Cozy out of Chicago. I was their chief operating officer for roughly 4 years, helping that business grow their tier one help desk and managed services engineering departments to the size that it is today. And then got involved in Microsystems back in October of 2016 as the CEO of that brand, overseeing docking stools and Contract Companion. And then the acquisitions of XREF after that, the Sackett Group, Litera, Workshare, Best Authority, Doxley. And I've been at the helm, I guess, of that strategy since 2016. Or why did someone go to law school and become a lawyer? And I think there is a good chunk of the population of lawyers that do it for a core purpose that's innate to who they are as individuals. There's a small set of us that enter law as a vehicle for something better. So I quickly learned when I was practicing law that you could help counsel your client, but at the end of the day, it's their decision to make on how their business runs. Even if it's the wrong idea, they may take it because you're ultimately not their decision maker, and your seat's not big enough. So I think after a few years of watching recommendations, ideas, and opinions get kind of tossed to the side, I felt I should challenge myself to go do it myself, use my own ideas and see if they're actually worth something. And that's what got me physically out of law into the entrepreneurial business side of things. When we sat back in, I would say December of 16, January 17, on a chalkboard, kind of outlining what we felt was the fix. What is it that we could sink our teeth into to really provide a significant improvement into what the legal profession was experiencing at that time? Being at Kino Cozy and seeing how support was handled, how lawyers were working at the time, and paralegals, they're working on very expensive documents, very important material, and applications aren't supporting them. You have word crashing, you have things hanging up, you have corrupted. It's just a very fragmented way of working. But yet you look at health tech, you look at fintech at that time, they were all aggressively moving forward to working in a digital age, but technology existed, but it was so fragmented. So we felt the area of focus was the drafting lifecycle first, and really honing in on making it easier to create a piece of content that your client was going to pay for. So during that thesis of building Litera Desktop, we recognize there are other areas of improvement that you could expand upon. But as a business, we get limited in our experience and knowledge of what lawyers face day in, day out. And I was a practicing lawyer, so I could bring input. I could tap my friends that are managing partners at some of the biggest firms and ask them how it's going. So during the M&A process, when we're looking at acquisitions, it has been very fortunate for us to bring in really strong founders that have been attorneys as well, because they can teach the rest of our business the experience that we are trying to solve for. So we've been fortunate that we've had folks join the business like Alma, like Omer, like Haley, that have really driven a sense of energy to the business that we may have traditionally lost over time. As a CEO, you have this innate desire to be the forward-facing person of the business every day. You're the one that you want to be interviewed and talk. I would prefer everybody else in the business have the voice and be out and about and giving the vision, giving the statement, because then it shows the market and gives everybody confidence that isn't one voice driving this business forward, but it's really a team of collaborative, smart people that are energetic driving the vision of the business forward. Whether it's any industry, any business, the only way you can solve problems is the first very important thing to do is empower that individual to actually solve problems, right? It can't be a fake situation where it's like, we'll pay you tons of money, sit in this room and just help us look good. They have to be empowered to actually drive their own self-thought, their own desires forward and take risks and make mistakes. I think if you can't take a risk and feel safe on taking a risk and making a mistake, then what's the point of doing this? Over the last 12, 18 months, we've traveled the country. We've had regional events, regional pocket events with focus firms to show and tell we're working on, get their feedback, because there is a regionality to technology and how folks work. So if we were to have one global cab, we felt like we were missing out on the nuances within market. By going to more regional focus, we can get these pockets of data we may have missed traditionally. The other area of influence in our product roadmap and M&A is our larger Litera desktop enterprise customers. So there is a size of the population that have taken Litera desktop as their enterprise solution. So we look to those firms as a guiding principle to say, look, we're working in this direction. What are you seeing and hearing? You're looking at other technology to acquire. Is it in our wheelhouse? Does it make sense for us to acquire it versus you trying to buy a startup? So we do look at their voice to have a pretty decent say in kind of how we move forward. Our first pivot as a business occurred in end of March, early April with Litera TV. We felt that it was important for us to immediately give something to our team to work on. So I felt, let's create something that we knew we could do every day. And we knew there was already a need in the marketplace to get stuff from us, whether it's like tips and tricks of the technology, best practices. We could interview some people. So we launched that immediately to get ourselves busy and make sure people on our team didn't sit in idle hands and feel like they were going to down spiral. And I felt like it was a way to give people in the industry something to do every day. If they needed a break from the pandemic and from the work from home, they could log in for 30 minutes and watch something on Litera TV. Well, fast forward, we've done 300 episodes, I guess, through end of Q2, and now we're launching this as a proper platform. And the second thing we did was we did the Changing Lawyer Live in May as well, and it was supposed to be an event not about us. Let's just have an event that is about stuff. It's for the industry, it's not for the industry, but it's an event that we can put on the size and scale that we're at, and we're gonna do that again. So that's coming out in Q3. You know, from a really good leader or a founder, you want to see resiliency is probably the number one thing during times like this, and grit. Since we started from home till now, if I saw the amount of time I spent in meetings internally, they've gone down dramatically because the trust factor has gone up and people believe they can survive and live and make decisions and keep the business moving because people are testing out the resiliencies and grit. My biggest concern is the need and the desire to see a lot of the startups survive this period, knowing that law firms aren't investing at the same rate as they were a year ago. They're holding back. There's a lot of good technology out there right now that's still in the early stage that people are vetting out, but they need to get revenue in the door soon to survive. This period is giving all of us a chance to just sit back and think and reconfirm the direction we're heading is right. And if you're an early stage business, this is a perfect time to sit back, reconfirm your direction. If it's a time for a minor pivot, it's a good time to do that pivot. Do you know what you want to do after law school? Do you know specifically what you're going to practice, what you're going to do, what your direction is? Because honestly, if you don't know that today going into law, then law school is probably not the right time for you, because you have to have that passion almost going into law just because of the market we're in, the climate we're in. You may not find the job you want or the compensation you want coming out, but you still have to love the practice of law so much that you'll keep doing it. We are now in the position we want to encourage the market to start taking technology a little more seriously and start updating their technology in a more regular cadence. I think with a brand like ours, we never hold back your other upgrades. We never hold back other things along the way. And some of that comes from just asking the market to upgrade more frequently. So I think that's going to be, with us, it should be an easier thing to do versus 8 vendors. So can you have an ecosystem that's more patched with security updates, fully integrated with everything else you do more regularly, and how often you have to upgrade that to make sure it's occurring? I think having one vendor helps that along the way. What's more important for me is the end user and how they're impacted by the consolidation. Because if the end user is not excited by the end state of this in the next couple of years, then we've missed the boat. Is a single ribbon of drafting something that an end user would appreciate in Word. And we believe now that we have over 60,000 end users on Litera Desktop. We believe that is the end state. And now it's a matter of, if a customer is going to buy it, it's when will the journey happen for them to bring over Litera Desktop. Litera Transact, is it fundamentally changing how transactions occur? M&A, IPO, debt refinancing, private equity, fund formation, all that can occur in our platform. So can we make enough impact to folks to make sure that the economy moves and it's easier to do deals, it's safer, it's more consistent, it's less error prone, is it less clicks than it would be before? If we can solve for those things along the way and the end user gets happier, then I think we've done our job. So we really try to, about 2 years ago, pivot and say we're more end user focused and less buyer focused recently, because it's important to me that the people that actually get the technology on their desktop use it and they find value in it.
Avaneesh Marwaha, people. I love it.